sumptuously every single day, which means every day he had everything he wanted, everything he needed. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus. Now, this is not the same Lazarus that God raised from the dead. This is a poor beggar, which was laid at his gate full of sores, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. Now, if you've ever seen a dog can get injured. And I remember when we had we named him Lucky, Carmen's little dog. I say Carmen because she was the one that prayed for that dog more than anybody else, I guess. But we had a dog, we named him Lucky because every time he'd get in the highway, he'd get hit by a car. And yet he kept on living. And he would drag his hind legs around behind him and go wherever he wanted to go. And he would chase rabbits and do all kinds of stuff as a beagle. But when he would get hurt or injured, we didn't have the money to run to the vet. We didn't have it. It was either buy a hamburger for my family or buy a piece of bread for my family or, take the dog to the vet. Well, God, you created the dog. You can heal the dog. And that dog would lay down and lick his wounds. And the germs from his mouth was an antibiotic that would heal it. Yeah, a dog licks their wounds. You've heard the saying. Well, dogs can lick a sore and the sore will get well. Dogs can lick your cut and your cut will get well. You get cut, just find you a good dog and let him lick you. And you'll heal. It'll heal. And so this man was so poor that he didn't have money to run to the doctor to get his boils and his sores taken care of. So he would lay out by the gate and the community dogs would come by and he'd let them lick his sores. That was his healing. But he was so hungry that he would be satisfied with just the crumbs, not the leftovers. The crumbs that would fall from the rich man's table would be sufficient for him. And when you're poor, you're poor. But church, it doesn't mean because you're wealthy that you're going to hell. And it doesn't mean because you're poor you're going to heaven. A rich man can enter into heaven just as easily as a poor man if he has the blood of Jesus applied to his sins. If he's been born again, he can make it into heaven. And a poor man can go to hell just as fast as a rich man if he's not born again. You see, no matter whether you're good, bad, or ugly, rich or poor, there's only one way to get into heaven, and that's by Jesus Christ. And He is the only way. And if you're born again, no matter how much money you have in your checking account, you're going to heaven. And if you're born again, no matter how much money you don't have, you're still going to heaven. And so let's get away from the fact that the rich cannot make it. Now, it's harder for the rich to make it because their money becomes their God too quickly. The love of their money becomes a god to them. They don't want to give. They don't want it to, if they've got a big stack, they want the stack to get bigger. No matter how much you got, you want to add a few more to it. And it hurts them to take away from it. If they have a big stack of money, it hurts them to go in there and take a portion of that money away. It hurts them. Even though they know someone over here is starving to death. And all that, if they would just take a 20 or a 50 and go buy them a few cans of Spam or a few cans of Beanie Weenies or something and give to them, it wouldn't hurt them at all, but it hurts them to know that they've got to take money away from their stack. The numbers are not as high. And that becomes their God. When you see somebody doing without and you'd rather keep your money in your pocket than to help them, that it becomes your God. This rich man had plenty. Poor man had nothing. And the Bible tells us, and it came to pass, verse 22, that the beggar died. Lazarus finally gave up the ghost and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The angels was there to greet his soul when his soul departed from his body. The soul of man is immortal. The soul of man is going to live forever. And, of course, the rich man died also, and he was buried. They took his body out to the cemetery and put it in the ground. And in hell, he lifted up his eyes. Now, he took his body to the cemetery, but his soul went to hell. Now, the soul of Abraham, the angels escorted to Abraham's bosom. The soul of Lazarus, the angels carried him to Abraham's bosom, which was a place called paradise. And I can tell by the clock there that I'm not going to get all this on one program, so you may want to stick another tape in or keep it going, because I may preach till dark. But the thing about it is, we're going to get this subject covered. There's 5 compartments or departments. Just like we have the Department of Aging, we have the Department of Social Security. There's 5 departments in hell. And we can call them compartments or we can call them departments. The Bible calls them departments. But there's 5 places in hell that a lot of the preachers don't preach about. A lot of the preachers don't preach about. And so I want to cover these 5 places that the Bible clearly tells us that there's 5 different areas in hell that are literal, that are real. One is Sheol or Hades, not Haiti, but Hades, Hades. Hades or Sheol, which is the torment department of hell. This is where the wicked are tormented day after day, hour after hour, week after week, month after month, year after year. When an evil person dies, when a wicked person or a lost person dies, their bodies go to the cemetery, but then they take their soul and it's cast into hell. The demons of hell come after their soul. And their soul is cast into hell until such time as it's given up to be judged. And if she needs me to pause anywhere in between here for a second to change the program, that's fine. If she doesn't, I'm going to continue. But the one place is called Sheol. That's the torment chamber of hell. The other place is called Paradise, which that place is now empty. It's void. Paradise was in hell. It was a department there to where the righteous souls were carried. The Old Testament souls were carried and held by Satan against their will because Adam and Eve sinned in the Garden of Eden. When you died, if you died righteous, if you died with...
He is the answer.